Hi, I'm Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV from the Conscious Life Expo. And we are here extremely blessed with the presence of Giacomo Renato Longato. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Glad to be back.
Oh, absolutely. Every time, anytime you want. So I would like to start a conversation tonight asking you about what's your number one passion in your life?
That's a good question, really. I have several passions, I would say, but one of them is that triggers me, this powerful emotion is to know the truth, the quest for the truth. According to my own account and experience, it happened when I was very young, and I have these UFO sightings that really changed my mind, and it helped me to understand what big is the universe and what big is the truth that we don't know, that is behind the history, that is written between the lines, in religion, in philosophy, and everything. And furthermore, more decades into this research and investigation, I have reached certain conclusions that it has been proven to me that at the very end, this extraterrestrial presence that we have here, that we have all people with all walks of life, all status, all races, is real. They are here. They've been visiting us for centuries ago, and I think my humble opinion is a social, cultural lab or experience that we're living. Because once you reach a contact with a higher civilization, a higher sophisticated civilization, we are not in the same level. There is one which is higher, I understand, and sometimes they want you to have the experience that they want you to have. They redirect your experience to reach certain conclusions. Therefore, I think the extraterrestrials are like cosmic anthropologists in general terms, and the contactee or experiencers are a sociological experiment. In this interaction, because we cannot trust them, we have doubts, fears, and they cannot trust us. Look what we're doing to the planet. So when are we going to reach that level of communication? We still have time to go. In the meantime, we have this that is a merging reality into ours. Is merging into ours, is merging into the collective consciousness to understand and admit that our older institutions, our more cherished institutions, Catholic Church, religions, philosophy, the system, the matrix that support us, oil, dollar, and the financial system, is not giving us answers anymore. These institutions are in fatigue. Therefore, the presence, is very attractive. It triggers powerful emotions in the human beings. We become fascinated. But what is behind this fascination? We need to transcend the phenomena in order to understand this bigger picture.
Let me ask you a very specific question. What would you say, why would you say with such a level of security that of certainty that we have been receiving extraterrestrial visitors for so many centuries? What are those evidence?
At least this is stuff for my experience. What I saw when I was 18 years old in a suburban area, living in Peru, I'm Peruvian, and living here in the United States for more than 20 years now. It was real, it was a UFO. There was a collapse of the energy and power in the area. Even though my TV, I was watching TV in that time, it went out of order. I went to my bedroom, opened the windows, and I saw these two unidentified objects hovering close to my house. Since then, I started to find out what is this reality. Then I have the opportunity to meet very interesting people, like John Mack, the psychiatrist from Harvard who studied abductions, and he got very good interviews and recordings about the people who have been called experiencers, or the people who has been, quote, abducted. I have met people from the Air Force, I have met scientists, I have met people within time that they told me this is real, off the record, and also I was able to coordinate a private conference with the Peruvian Air Force School of War, closed doors because they didn't want the media, and we have fighter pilots, we have the director of the Air Force School of War, 4-star generals, and other people from the Congress, from the Department of Astronomy and Research of Peru, telling us that this presence or UFOs, wherever they came from, are real. All of them are lying. I don't think so. There is a reality. There is a subtle reality behind this, and that may, within time, because I have my doubts like anybody else, that this is a real deal. It's happening right now.
And why would you say they're coming to visit us?
I think there is a purpose. I don't know their agenda. That's a good question, you know. They're visiting us because they want to know what are we doing at least. And I think when people read the old versions of the UFO contact in the 50s, they were different. They were related to nuclear war, you know, Armageddon in that time, you know, the bipolarity of powers, Russia or the Soviet Union and the United States. Then in the 60s, you have a very interesting case of the abduction of Betty and Barney Hill. Betty was white, Barney was black, and they were married in the late 50s during the time of apartheid in the United States, and they were abducted in 1961. Why are they going to abduct exactly a biracial couple? It triggered a response from the media, and everything related to that case was spectacular. So on the time where Martin Luther King was fighting for the civil rights, you have a biracial couple being abducted. What a coincidence, you know, to attract the media, to attract the press. I'm talking about more than 57 or 56 years ago in the 60s. But also in the 60s, you have these people, you know, looking forward to find questions for enlightenment with Paramahansa Yogananda, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who the Hare Krishna movement, and others who brought, you know, how to use the peyote, or the 60s, the hippie movement, the Greenpeace exactly movement started to happen in the 60s. Then you have on the 70s, the people who claim to have contacts. But within the 60s and the 70s, you have also new organizations that were doing research, like the National Investigation Committee of Aerial Phenomena, MUFON, Mutual UFO Network Organization, that were established in the late 50s and early 60s. So something started to happen and it started to get into our society, and a new slang came to our vocabulary. What is a contactee? Someone who claims I have a contact with an extraterrestrial. It's a matter of faith, you know. You tell me what's going to happen, that you have had a contact. Well, I trust you because, let's say, I know you. But you know, this is what I call the day after effect. Once you have a contact, while you have an extraordinary event, the next day you have to go back home. If you are married, you have to tell your wife. If you're a policeman, you're in trouble because your status is going to put in risk your job. If you're a doctor or a judge, you cannot just go freely and say, I have had a contact with extraterrestrial. It affects your life. The day after effect, you have to go and buy your groceries like anybody else. So this is how you deal with that reality. So they are monitoring you. You create a cult, you create a group or organization that trying to do this research on nuts and bolts, you know, facts, videos, photographs. This is a Photoshop, this is real. You know, there were some landing marks that is different, you know. There's some more kind of scientific method. Or you can go and become a person that says, you know what, I don't want to talk about this anymore because it's affecting my private life. So in that sense, there is a monitoring. So from the 60s to the 70s, then you have these groups that start to grow up. Group Rama, you know, and others. Enrique Castillo Rincon, a well-known contactee from Costa Rica, you know, who have contact with, according to him, with the Pleiadians. You have Billy Mayer from Switzerland and others.
So the message you're trying to convey is that we've been continuously being visited,
yes,
by extraterrestrials. Do you think that they still live with us today? They already live among us?
There are certain versions that there are people, you know, that can say off the record they have had these experiences and they have these really weird encounters with beings that they know their lives. They have this psychic ability to read their minds. There is also a documentary done many years ago in an Ecuadorian TV related to the diplomatic group that was representing Ecuador in Lima, Peru, have contact with extraterrestrials to avoid a military intervention from Peru against Ecuador in that time. And the witnesses, the people who belonged to the Ecuadorian embassy, ended up being interviewed and telling them these unknown visitors that look like, you know, Europeans or Nordics is starting to tell us things that will happen in the future and start to happen. So these kind of cases, they are really kind of off the road, start to come into the surface. Then you wonder, is this real? Is this happening? Why these people are going to risk their reputation? Why these people are going to, try to do this, but they are not getting any business from it. They're not getting any material compensation. Then you realize that why not? Could be real. Why not this is happening? I have met Peruvian Air Force pilots, war pilots. They have been trying to shut down UFOs, the famous case of Oscar Santa Maria, with more than 1,000 witnesses from the Peruvian Air Force that were able to see on a parade just in a Peruvian Air Force base. They were able to see a UFO flying around. They sent, in that time, Lieutenant Oscar Santa Maria to intercept and shut down that unidentified flying object they thought was maybe for a neighboring country, then doing some espionage or something like that. And when he took off in his Sukhoi from the Soviet armament, he found out it was a real UFO. And there were generals who were witness of that.
So what do you think is it's the real position of different governments worldwide about extraterrestrial contacts?
I think that the ones that are open-minded, and there's the one closed-minded because of geopolitical interests. Imagine to find out where is the location of a UFO crash, and you have the budget, and you have the people and the logistics to travel to different parts of the world and rescue and taste those parts that belongs to a UFO, a higher technology, take it back to your country, spend years in special labs and trying to get the best information for new technology and perhaps from the industrial military complex. So that is the difference when you go to Brazil and Argentina, and the Air Force members and other military, they are very open. They go to the public, they talk about us, this and that, and this is for real. Mm-hmm. And there's also an officer from the Chilean Army Air Force. I forgot his last name, but he wrote a book with the permission of his superiors. But I would like to see that with an American fighter pilot.
Right.
That's very difficult. So that's why I don't believe in UFO disclosure, especially coming from the United States.
So do you think that they are actually living among us, or they come visit us? What do you think?
I cannot say about that. I cannot be 100% sure about that. But there are some special cases that really make me think about that possibility that they come here and stay mingle with us, trying to study us. Because one thing for sure, let me give an example. Let's say you're a contactee. You have an extraordinary experience, and we mentioned before the day after effect. The next day is the reality hits you. But let's say you live in Cuba. There's no free press in Cuba. Let's say you live in North Korea, or you live in the Middle East, surrounded by crisis and never-ending crisis and war. Your message, your experience can get through the population, can get through the media, very difficult, because you need to survive. At least what I find out with the contactees, there are two groups. There are Latinos or there are whites. If there is a black contactee, I never heard of, unless someone can correct me. If there is an Asian contactee, I never heard of. If there is from India, I never heard of either. Why in this block exactly of those two races? These two profiles are the people who are more active in the so-called contactism. Because there must be a purpose. Because they belong to the Western Bloc, which is the predominant in the world, right? And if you live in a kind of affluent society, let's say more stable, that you have really free press, and you are from the middle class, you have more possibilities to spread your news or your message and to affect other people. And perhaps within time, you just say, this is what I had, and that's it. I don't want to continue to give you more press, more conference and this. Or you become popular because you're charismatic, you speak very well, you attract the people, and you have this passion, because it's very difficult to understand this phenomenon, because it triggers powerful emotions, and you start to draw people about you. Some sort of a cult,
Absolutely.
Some sort of a cult.
What is your main area of research right now?
For me, my main area of research is the people who have had experience and what are they doing with that. Because that's the more valuable for me. Because if this is an experiment, you need to know what are they doing with it, what is valuable for them. For some of them, it affects also their personal relationships in their family. Sometimes people get divorced, sometimes people lose their jobs, sometimes people they're crisis, because it takes away that unity, that center of gravity of one thing that we're doing. The day after effect, after the experience, what happened to that person? What are they doing with it? What are they planning to do in their future, or doing nothing? Because they are against the world sometimes. They are not really understood by the people, or they become popular. So that is my main focus right now, to some way monitor or see what people who have had this extraordinary experience are doing right now.
Having researched for so long and so much, so deeply about extraterrestrials on Earth, I would like to ask you a final question, which is, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Do you think that we're going to see more UFOs? We're going to find out about more extraterrestrials having contacts with humans? What do you think?
I think there has been contacts within time, since we were like 200, 300 years ago. And this is what I called in a previous interview with Mindalia, Let's say we go back only 500 years ago, and we see Christopher Columbus arriving to the Americas, and we're hiding behind the bushes, right? And Christopher Columbus is coming here in the boat, arriving to the beach and saying, this belongs to the crown of Spain, this and that. And we were recording it with our iPhones. And then we approached Christopher Columbus, and we showed him the video where we were recording when he was arriving, and said, look, Christopher, this is what happened 10 minutes ago. If we show him that, we show him magic, he will not understand that. Even though he was super educated in that time, 500 years ago difference. Imagine your contact a civilization which is 1,000 years ahead of us. Do they can explain everything to us and we will be able to understand? No. My concern right now is climate change. My concern right now is, what are we going to do with this? I would love the science to study this phenomena, because it requires an integral research. Not only people who can do it in the time off like me, or the professionals, because it takes time, it takes budget. So I would like science to approach this more seriously. That is my real feel.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Giacomo Renato. It's been a pleasure to have you here. Again, this is Angel Ribo with Mindalia TV from the Conscious Life Expo. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you.